I feel like for a long time, I just operated from what I was taught. And there was always this nagging feeling inside of me that just knew that whatever this is, it just didn't feel true for me and how I wanted to live my life. Welcome to the Moon Tarot Card lesson. In this lesson, we'll be reviewing the meaning of the Moon Tarot card, where we'll go over the general meaning of this card, and we'll also be doing a tarot analysis, where we'll be using 3 key factors on how to interpret any tarot card without memorizing the meanings, and ultimately empower your intuition. We're all intuitive, so think about intuition like a muscle. The more you use your intuition, the stronger it gets. This video is part of the 22-day tarot challenge, where each day of the challenge we will go over a major arcana tarot card, otherwise known as the Fool's Journey. Sign up at tarotchallenge.mysticmondays.com to get the worksheets to participate in these lessons and join our private community for this free 22-day tarot challenge. But before we get started, let me introduce myself. I'm Grace, and I'm the creator of Mystic Mondays, the artist, author, and founder behind all of the Mystic Mondays decks, the Mystic Mondays app, and all of the Mystic Mondays courses. Over the years, I've had the pleasure of teaching tarot workshops and reading tarot for hundreds of people, having collaborated with brands like Chanel, Macy's, Shopify, Urban Outfitters, and so many more. Even reading tarot in the metaverse. But that's enough about me. Let's get back to this tarot lesson. Let's begin this tarot lesson with the general meaning of the Moon Tarot card. The keywords for this card are surreal, subconscious, and shadow self. In astrology, the moon is associated with Pisces, a zodiac sign of psychic abilities, intuition, and imagination. Pisces tends to channel their divine visions onto this earthly plane through their art. Dreamy and elusive, Pisces can also absorb emotions easily. It can be easier to live in fantasy than in the 3D. And the theme of escapism also relates to Pisces. In numerology, the moon is associated with the number 18, symbolizing opportunity, success, and prosperity. This number gives you vision, being able to exude authority and power. Numerology 18 breaks down into the number 9 and carries the same energetics of attainment, transition, and that you're almost at the end to complete a cycle. Knowing the correspondences of the moon can help us understand the meaning of this card as well as the overall energetics of this card. If you want to access the tarot card meanings on the go, we also have the Mystic Mondays app for you to access the tarot library, and you can also draw all of the Mystic Mondays cards for the day to give you daily guidance and to be a part of your daily rituals. The moon is a card of abstract ideals and surrealism. The moon illuminates our shadow selves, the parts of us that are ruled by the subconscious. They are brought to light by our dreams and fears, often projecting our insecurities onto other people and scenarios in our lives. The more aware we become of our unconscious, the more we are able to identify whether we are acting from our irrational thoughts or our conscious minds. The moon is about going beyond the surface and diving deep to resolve our inner issues. Your intuition will guide you, even when it doesn't seem to make any sense. There could be psychic forces at play, with illusions unraveling to reveal the truth. It can be hard to decipher what is real and what is imagination, but it's all connected. Pay close attention to your dreams and listen to your gut instincts. The moon can highlight your weaknesses, but they can also be your best strengths. That's it for the general meaning of the moon card. Let's move into the next chapter of this lesson, the tarot analysis. So for this portion of the lesson, we are going to look at 3 different cards from 3 different decks. The Rider Waite Tarot, the Mystic Mondays Tarot, which is my deck that I created both as the artist and author, and the This Might Hurt Tarot. Quick shout out to my podcast, The Grace Podcast, where I often interview deck creators, artists, authors, and other spiritual wellness experts. For the Moon episode, which is not out yet at the time of this recording, I interviewed Sarah Gottesdiener, creator of the Moon Studio and author of The Moon Book, Lunar Magic to Change Your Life. So if you want to tune in to some moon wisdom, definitely check out that episode. I'll have to throw a picture up here, but Sarah actually hosted a moon workshop when I first started out with Mystic Mondays and hosted a series of workshops in the Urban Outfitters space. And it was such a joy to be able to witness her hosting this moon workshop. Okay, let's get into the tarot analysis, where we'll be looking at 3 key factors to help us interpret these cards: color, symbolism, and personal experience. As a huge color nerd, color is one of the very first things that I notice about anything, especially with tarot cards, because I feel like color is an amazing way to intuitively understand the card without necessarily knowing all the meaning behind all of the symbolism of every single object. Color is a really great way for a card or a deck to express its personality, but I also feel like different elements that are portrayed in the card and what color it is typically expresses a meaning as well. So in short, color definitely communicates so much in energy and personality. So next to each card, we do have the color swatches here. The Rider Waite, I think, tends to have a more muted color palette, so I always feel like it has a more serious tone. I think paired with like the line quality of the illustrations, all of that tends to have intention and also carries a message. But here in, I would say, the central part of the card and what takes up the most space in the card is this moon, but also it's also a sun, and there's also a face within the moon and sun. I say there's a sun as well because of all these rays coming out of the moon, and it looks like a sun. And in terms of color, it is the biggest object when you squint your eyes, and also it holds a lot more space within the card. We have blue here with the night sky and the water. The star card is also doing this as well, so using the same blue for the sky and the water. But everything is illuminated, even though it's nighttime. And I do feel like something that the moon card tends to signify is illuminating shadows, illuminating subconscious beliefs. These 2 towers here are in gray. Hard to see, but there's also a little pathway, which is in yellow. And I always think about yellow as being the color of optimism, happiness, even hope. We have the dog here, which is in brown, and then the wolf is in yellow. And we also have a lobster here at the bottom, so it can harken to the zodiac sign Cancer. But the moon card is actually associated with the sign Pisces. So there's a lot of watery elements within this card, and I appreciate that as a Moon in Pisces girly. In the Mystic Mondays Tarot, I'm using a lot of gradients. I love gradients, and you'll see that in a lot of my work. But we have a lot of rich blues, rich blue gradients. We have a purple blue gradient here for the water. We have like a lighter blue gradient for this crystalline structure that the main character is sitting on. And then we have a bit of pink here, pink purple for the gradient of the pyramids in the background in the distance of the card. We have the moon illuminated in white. I'm sure it's a sort of white gradient there, a really light white and blue gradient. And I feel like the dark blues help indicate some sort of mystery. It reminds me of the void when using these darker tones, and those colors are more so seen in the night sky. And then the water, where it's a bit closer to us as a viewer, but also to the person within the card. I feel like since it's reflecting the night sky, it's a lighter color because we can see it a bit more clearly, and it's a bit more tangible to us because we can touch the water, but we can't necessarily touch the night sky. And then in the This Might Hurt tarot, we have very earthy tones. So we have people here wearing these masks. They're flesh toned. The lobster here is a more brown tone. We have grays, we have greens. I feel like the green here is almost like a more eerie green, because I think when interpreting these cards, I typically associate green with abundance and fertility and nature. But here it's kind of like glowing in a way that feels uncomfortable. And then we have the moon, adorned with all of these delicate details. It is in yellow and it stands out, not only because of the way the detail is handled differently. It's much more dainty and detail-oriented and delicate within the moon. And then all of the line work surrounding the moon is heavier and more typical of what we see in the rest of the deck. All right, let's go into symbolism. So as usual, with the Rider Waite tarot, there's so much symbolism packed into this card. We have the moon here as our central figure, and I feel like just even the scale of the moon just really places the precedence over, like, even these towers are much smaller than the moon because this is the moon card. So the moon represents your subconscious. It can represent the messages you may receive in your subconscious state. So that could be dreams. It represents your intuition and the realm of the unseen. So maybe you can feel something that you can't necessarily explain, or you know something to be true. It's not like you have scientific proof to back it up. It's more so you just know. It also can speak to operating out of subconscious beliefs. So what hasn't been illuminated yet that is driving your actions and essentially controlling you. So the two towers here can represent the known and the unknown. And similar to what we see in the High Priestess card and also the Justice card, the moon is sitting between these two pillars, but obviously depicted in a different way. And a lot of what we see in the Rider Waite tarot is also a sense of duality, balance. So conscious, unconscious. We also see a winding path here in the middle, going off into the mountains, which tends to blend into the sky. And this could really point to that inner journey of really discovering oneself, discovering your subconscious beliefs, what might be driving actions that may be in autopilot, or you might not be able to fully explain why you do certain things or why you think certain things. The moon really helps shed awareness on those aspects of your life. The dog and the wolf here are seen howling at the moon. I feel like, I don't know if anybody else feels an energy shift during the full moon, but I certainly do. And I'm just noticing how much more active and also how much more angsty people tend to be during the full moon. And these animals reminds me of that because they're just howling at the moon. They're just acting from their animal impulses. And we too, as humans, also act from our animalistic natures. And of course, these two represent duality. So the dog represents a more tamed aspect of us, a more domestic, type of animal, like the dog paired with the wolf, who represents a more primal aspect of human nature. And then the lobster is crawling out of the water at the bottom of the card, which could represent consciousness coming into form or into awareness, and also how this piece of consciousness crawling out of the subconscious of the water is a lobster. So it's very hard, it's protected, but on the insides, it's very vulnerable. So this is very valuable information that is crawling out of the subconscious. And it's even depicted at the very beginning of this path here. So I'll highlight it here in the This Might Hurt tarot. But it looks like it's about to set off into the path, because once we become aware of something, we also have to go through that journey of understanding it, implementing new habits if we want to change it, becoming aware of it. Could even mean things like journaling, or maybe even seeing a therapist or a coach or anybody that could help you shift these subconscious behaviors into something a bit more conscious. But the first step is awareness. And I think that is really what this lobster crawling out of the subconscious is about. And this path is long, so it's not like a easy journey. It's not like you're aware of it and then it's done. It's like, nope, you're aware of it. And then it's this long journey of understanding it, healing, integrating all of those things to then create lasting change. Because who knows how long you've had this subconscious belief? It could be a generational belief that you're then uncovering and healing for yourself. So the water here tends to represent the subconscious and your different emotions that may be lying beneath the surface. We have a huge body of water in the Mystic Mondays Tarot, which basically takes up half of the card. So this could be the conscious and the unconscious. So a balance of harmony. I think in the Mystic Mondays Tarot, because I wanted to simplify things so that the reader and whoever is using the cards, they could intuitively understand the messages without getting intimidated by all of the symbolism. I'm noticing that all of the elements within the moon card are pretty even, like the moon and the pyramids and the person. The biggest structure would be this crystalline structure, which I also feel like it reminds me of that saying, or not necessarily saying, but if you've ever seen this like meme of this huge iceberg and you only see the tip of the iceberg breaking the surface, but at the bottom, underneath the water, is this huge structure of an iceberg. And this is also what this crystal reminds me of, because we're only seeing a little piece of this crystal or iceberg, and there's so much more beneath the surface to uncover. And instead of the towers here, I had the pyramid structures, which I feel like pyramids hold a lot of wisdom. And I also feel like pyramids tend to channel energy from the top to the bottom. So we get this divine energy from, all these different star systems, which obviously are surrounding the pyramids and the night sky, and the figure who is sitting here with her back turned to us, contemplating subconscious beliefs. And also, I think just having that introspection while you're becoming more aware of oneself. But I mentioned scale because I think in the Rider Waite tarot and also the This Might Hurt tarot, the moon is so much bigger, but everything within the Mystic Mondays tarot card, all of the elements feel really balanced. The moon card is associated with the number 18. And 18 in numerology breaks down into 9. So you can see a lot of the themes here similar to the Hermit card. So a lot of solitude, introspection. It's also like towards the end of completing a cycle, because 9s are very close to the 10s. And then I'm realizing that with both the moon card and the Hermit card in the Mystic Mondays tarot, you've got the figure with their back turned. So going inward within oneself. Okay, so let's move into personal experience. I can remember when illustrating this card in particular, I don't know what happens, but I completely zoned out for 4 hours while making this card. I was like in complete flow state, and I was playing a song over and over again. It's Lana Del Rey featuring The Weeknd, Stargirl interlude, but it's a very dreamy, galactic type of song. And I love songs like that. And that's what I did when I was creating this card. If we think about how we're affected by the moon cycles and even paying attention to our own cycles, I think can illuminate a lot for how we react and how we are better able to show up. For example, if you're on your period, and understanding how you relate to your cycle can also relate to this relationship that you have with the moon. And also the moon goes through phases and cycles. So how do you feel during a new moon versus how do you feel during a full moon? Are you noticing a difference in the environment? I think that also speaks to energy levels and understanding how you best operate under certain circumstances. So if you know during a full moon you need to go be with community and do rituals together, then, that's what you need to do. I'm not saying that's the same every time, because maybe it changes from time to time. But I think best understanding oneself and one's needs are also part of the moon card. And sometimes we don't know what that is because of other subconscious beliefs that might be blocking us from truly understanding our needs. And I say that because I feel like I'm always on a constant journey of self-discovery and learning more about myself. which I love because we're always changing and we're always growing. And I feel like for a long time, I just operated from what I was taught. And there was always this nagging feeling inside of me that just knew that whatever this is, it just didn't feel true for me and how I wanted to live my life. And a lot of that can come with a lot of perhaps guilt, a lot of feeling like you're betraying your family of origin, because typically these values and things that you're taught come from wherever you grew up. So a lot of even just like becoming yourself could mean turning your back on things that you once knew. So it could even feel bad at first. It could feel like you're betraying something, or it might feel even like a sense of guilt, maybe even when choosing oneself. And then you get through those murky feelings and then you come out emerged more as your true self. And then you're like, well, that was worth it, because all of those darker feelings then informed this lightness. It then informed my true self and also the type of environment where I thrive. But I think a lot of where we learn that is within these uncomfortable moments of confronting belief systems, of confronting even people sometimes. So I would say the moon card isn't a comfortable card, but it's also a card of seeking one's own definition of freedom. And a lot of the times when we're seeking our version of freedom, we have to look at the things that are keeping us trapped. And I think a lot of that has to do with how we're choosing to see the world and our experience. So what about you? How are you relating to the moon card? Are there any personal experiences that remind you of the moon card, or are you connecting the moon card to anything that has happened in the past? Definitely use our worksheets as a resource within our free 22-day tarot challenge to help you with these prompts. Feel free to share your experiences within the comments and within our private community. All right, that is it for the Moon Tarot card lesson. If you liked this episode, remember to like, subscribe, and comment so that more tarot lovers and learners can join us on the Fool's Journey. If you want to dive deeper with this card, you can listen to the Moon Meditation, which is available on our YouTube, the Mystic Mondays YouTube channel, with full extended meditations inside our Coven membership portal. And just so you know, each tarot card also has its own collection where you can shop your favorite tarot cards on the Mystic Mondays site. So if you are feeling super connected to the card, we do have Moon merch on the Mystic Mondays website for you to shop right now, like the shirt that I am wearing. And if you use code MOON, you can get 10% off any item in the Moon collection. Thanks for being here, sending you magic today and every day. See you in the next lesson.